All right, we are here with Nightmare Haunt from Chicago. If you guys are familiar with the Chicago Haunt Builders group here, you have seen the work these guys do here. So I just wanted to take a real quick trip, let you guys introduce yourselves so everybody knows who's who.
I'm Bella
And we can
Mayo.
start off. We can start off with the two that are together first. I figure that'd be a lot more.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm Isabella Maioli. People call me Bella. I've been doing this for 5 years.
And I'm Michael. I've been doing this the whole time, 12 years.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, and hi, my name is Alexis Williams. I am going on my 7th season as a part of the Nightmare Haunted House.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So guys, stay tuned here. We're going to take you into Nightmare Haunt and what they get into and all of the things that they do here, so you can see the madness that they bring about for their neighborhood and community so often and so frequently. So stay tuned. Great. And we're back. Okay, so Nightmare Home Haunt, guys. I'll let you guys kind of tackle this however you want, but my first question is, tell us about what Nightmare Home Haunt is and what started all the madness.
Well, I can answer that. Well, what started all the madness is kind of when I was younger, we always went to, Statesville, the Abyss Haunted House, all these big haunted houses out here. The Chicagoland market is huge. There's lots of haunted hauses. So kind of just, my parents taking me to them over the years, kind of just falling in love with the art and the craft of it, watching lots of YouTube videos of home haunters and pro haunters, all the above. So I kind of fell into it that way. And we started really small, just a couple props in the driveway and some actors outside. And slowly but surely it snowballed into a 40 plus people operation, and thousands of people come through every year, and we donate thousands of dollars to charity every year. So kind of started small, kind of very small, way back when I was 12 years old, and now 12 years later, it's kind of really big. So that's kind of how it started. Do you want to share with them kind of what we are, I guess, now?
Yeah, we kind of set our goals around community and just bringing everybody together, positivity, creativity, teamwork, safety, because we do have an established build crew, actually, which is great. We have so many members of our cast are volunteering to be a part of a build crew, which is amazing. They do so much work, and we try to, make it efficient, safe as possible, make sure everybody's having a good time. And, we do that all year round, in season, off season. We're always planning. We're always, planning outings with everyone and doing Christmas stuff and getting together. And we always make sure we're connected and that everyone's included and we're never kind of apart. And we do talk on grouping. We have a bunch of group chats, and they're all friends. They have their little groups, and it's awesome seeing them get along and kind of hang out together and do whatever they do and take their TikToks and whatever during season. And it feels really good to know that we're doing our job as owners and creating that kind of environment.
That's phenomenal. That is phenomenal. Did I hear 40 actors? Did I hear that correctly? 40 volunteers?
That is correct. Not all of them are actors. We have about 5, 6 that do strictly, we call it ghost hosts.
Yeah.
Which are people outside of costume just wearing our merch. But yeah, we have a really, really big group. It's a great group. It gets a lot sometimes, but almost 40 people is what we have now.
That is wild. There's pro operations out there that don't have that many people, and I can say that with a surety.
Yep, I know that.
That's
sure.
wild. That's so cool, though. That is so cool. That's something special. That is something special. I guess this is going to be different for all of you guys, so I guess you guys can take turns. You can kind of figure out who wants to go first and tackle this. But what were some of the things that were motivational in building your passion for this? Because I've come to the conclusion that you got to be one or two things. If you're a home haunter, pro haunter, I don't care what it is, you either got to be incredibly passionate or absolutely insane. One of the two. So either way, let us know what either drove you insane or made you passionate.
Yeah, I mean, Alexis, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I would say I'm a good mix of both. Some days one more than the other, but I started this way back in my freshman year of high school. I'm a sophomore in college now, and I was a theater kid my whole life. I started with I did dance when I was younger, and then transitioning into like junior high, I started doing like a little acting class. Then I was into musicals. I was in some performances at my junior high. And then when I got to high school, I didn't end up joining the fall play, but instead, Michael, who was my section leader in marching band, actually was like, "Hey, I know you like acting and you didn't do the fall play this year. Why don't you come act with me at my haunted house?" And at first I said no, because absolutely not. I was terrified of haunted houses forever. But I had decided to just go for it. And I built up such a strong passion for it. I've always been a fan of the arts. And now, not only am I a co owner, but I am the head makeup artist as well. And that's definitely a driving factor for me because I love expressing myself in creative ways and helping others express themselves in creative ways. So giving someone that perfectly painted face will help them break out of their box and express themselves to their true capabilities. And now I even get to teach people how to do makeup. And now I'm, kind of dipping my toes in photography. My favorite thing about all of this is that there are, quote, normal things from the real world that can be transitioned into haunt life, whether that's makeup, photography, painting, like set design. There's so many things that you can find your outlet with a wicked twist.
That's awesome. All right, I'm going to jump in real quick before we get to the next one. I got to say this. So, Alexis, do you do most of the photography for all of the events and things that you do, the promo shoots, things of that nature?
The promo shoots and a lot of photography in past years has been done by Tom from Slash Visuals. I am just now getting into photography. So if you saw our Valentine's Day photo shoot, that was all done by me. That was like my first kind of passion project in photography. And I'm actually double majoring in photography in this coming fall.
That's awesome. Hey, you guys do great work and everything. I don't want to jump ahead of myself, so I'm going to shut up. But you do an awesome job. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, who's next on the roster here?
Let's have Bella go.
Oh, okay. Well, so not to be cheesy or anything, but I don't know. Growing up, I tried a bunch of different things. All different kinds of sports, everything from gymnastics to karate, and it was hard for me to find somewhere that I really stuck with and that resonated with me. I love the scary stories to tell in the dark, and I was always into haunted houses. I was into them, but at the same time, I'd be the kid that be found, being held and crying on someone's shoulder. But eventually, as I got older, I really wanted to act in one, and I honestly don't remember exactly. It was an old friend. I don't remember how the conversation went, but I was very nervous. I have very bad stage fright to do this actor orientation thing. And I came and I didn't think that I was going to be able to do it. But I stuck with it. I have characters now. I have 3 characters, and I love expressing myself. I was always the kid that got in trouble in school for talking. I'm very social. I love, sometimes I can be very loud. So
awesome.
Fitting in a group where everyone is like that, there's no judgment. There's no, it's the weirder you are, the more you fit in. So it's perfect. And I definitely feel like I found a home for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I guess I'll go next. But, to answer your question, Dave, I'm absolutely insane. I'll just be straight out honest with you. I'm kidding. I do have a passion for it still. I dress up at almost every night still. We create, I do a lot of more of the stuff that you don't see night to night. I give it to Bella and Alexis. They're very good with operations and getting the actors ready and all that. I'm more of the designing, I'm planning out the rooms with some of our build managers. I'm working with them on, building the show is my passion. I love, I'm looking at all those props behind you just freaking out because they look so cool. That's this kind of stuff that I like. I like creating things, designing things. But a lot of it of why I keep going is because our end goal is to eventually become a professional haunted house. And it's also now that we have such a big team, it's like, I kind of feel in some way that there is a duty as an owner to kind of provide a place for them to hang out and be safe. Over the years, kind of stepping back and just looking at everything, I've seen friend groups come out of this. I've seen, lifelong friendships get started because of this. There is just such a big impact of what we've created here, and the family that we've created even is kind of what still fuels my passion. It's very cool if I, create a nice asylum facade, or we create a cabin in the woods, or we create some rat head animatronics. But at the end of the day, some of, what really keeps me going is my actors and my team, is because seeing them just be crazy about it and kind of fall in love with it like I did, that just makes it all worth it.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. And I can tell you from getting a chance to experience what you guys do firsthand, I don't think you can really put it into words unless you're there to experience it. But you guys really run an operation. People hear me say this, and I sound like a broken record because I keep saying it. And I'm sure somebody's like rolling their eyes because I'm about to say it again. And I've always said that the line between pro haunting and home haunting has gotten so blurred. At one point there was a very big chasm between those two industries. You had your pro haunts, you had your home haunts, and the home haunts meant somebody had some inflatables and some window projections. And that's not the case anymore. And you guys are like absolutely the pinnacle of that example where you have to do a double take. Like, am I at a pro operation? Not to be mean, but I've been to some pro operations that are not even on par, so yeah, you guys do an amazing job, so hats off. Let me know if there is any lore or story background, or is that something you guys change from year to year?
Oh, yes. There 100% is. I'll give a rundown, and Michael and Bella can jump in whatever and add to it. But so the general storyline is that there was this hospital, and Dr. V ran this hospital, and he would experiment on the patients. And there was this demon, Agnes, that he had partnered with, and she had kind of taken over him and taken over the patients. And he was creating these monsters in this hospital or this asylum. So all the themes that you see every year, yes, maybe they are drastically different. Maybe one's an asylum and one is like the woods, and like how are these related? Well, they all kind of fit into the puzzle piece along the storyline. You're always somewhere along this storyline, something is happening. And kind of our dream when we go pro is to kind of paste all of these storylines together to make one cohesive story that you can experience every year.
That's awesome. I love that. Very cool. Any other throw-ins on that before I start running my mouth?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we decided this year, we were gonna, we tossing up so many ideas. We have a bunch of meetings where we allow anybody really to say what they want to say, and we have meetings with our build crew, and we've been allowing them to start tapping into designing rooms and allowing them to make props, and whatever props they do, we hang them up. We had a rat room this year, and we had 2 rats in there, and Finn, one of our actors, did an absolutely amazing job. We had Alex, one of our managers, do a prop. We got everybody working together. It's great to see every single year new people and returning actors get more and more passionate. Everybody wants to help. You know, I'm doing a room this year. I'm terrified, but it's exciting. People are tapping into things they've never done before, and this is the time to do it. So it's exciting to see.
I think Alexis.
That's awesome.
I think she hit it with our theme. It's so good because you can pretty much put anything in a nightmare. Like we have so much room to change it up. You know, like she said, we've done the cabin in the woods. We've done the asylum twice. We did it 3 times, one at MHC. But, you know, we change our theme. Yes, we change it every year, but it's a different time period in the nightmare story.
That's awesome. So basically, they're all different versions of the same story somewhat, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
They're all versions.
That's
of
awesome.
your night.
That's awesome. I've always said that that's like a tricky thing when you're doing a narrative. Like you can pigeonhole yourself if you're not careful, but if you pick the right narrative, it's got so much like potential to morph into different things that you have a lot more creative freedom. I've seen some people really kind of paint themselves in the corner with a narrative, and it's like, okay, where do you go? Either you trash it and start over, or you've got to stay within these lines that are very confining. So that's awesome that you do that. So you've got different timelines and different versions of, that. I love that. So I got to ask you this question because I kind of feel like I deal with this myself, but you guys being on the, I'm going to say, the bones side of the operation, where you guys have so much more to think about than the actual volunteer who shows up, gets in costume, and just wants to have fun. You guys have to deal with so many other things, like this stop working, or if somebody has a question up front, or all of those things. How do you balance that? Because there's a part of me that's a kid, and I'm like, I want to go play, and I'm stuck being the adult. I got to walk around and fill the foggers up. All this light stopped working. I got to go trip the breakers, So how do you guys balance, the business side and the fun side?
I would, honestly, and, I'm not trying to, butter anybody's biscuit, but just getting more than just yourself. And I know that's really hard on a home level, even if it's just like a friend or something that can take something off. Because for the many, many years that we first started doing this, it was just me doing everything. It was me. I was the actor manager, the makeup artist, the everything. And slowly but surely I started building. And by the way, I suck at makeup. And slowly but surely, over the years, we kind of just I started making connections with people and getting people that wanted to do more. And I'm so blessed and so thankful to have, Alexis and Bella, that we are able to almost split, I don't want to call them burdens, but split those hurdles kind of in 3 ways, and then maybe even trickle it down to our actor manager or our build manager. So we have it structured in a way that, not one of us isn't stuck doing it all by ourselves, because it becomes a lot. And I know what you're saying, because at one point, I was running around, and I'm still running around like a chicken with its head cut off, but, just kind of building a team in some sort of way. Each market is different, because what's worked for us might not work, in Texas or in Michigan where you are, so for me, it's just building a team where you can kind of delegate some of those tasks.
Yeah, we do a lot of, I would have to say I agree with a lot of what you said. We do a lot of rotations, I guess, kind of. We again, yeah, to reiterate what he said, make sure everything's balanced. And we actually added a new manager, I believe it was this past year, construction manager. And we have Zach and Alex. They work great together, and we get things done quick. And we're starting new things. Alexis is tapping into the photography. We're starting to rely on ourselves. We created a whole social media plan. Me and Alexis are kind of tag teaming it. I'm doing these new interviews, and she's got these new YouTube videos. We're all coming together, and like I said earlier, we don't stop. we meet and we text and call, and we're, with third parties, I won't spoil anything, but we have a lot of new and big things going on this year with new people, and we're really excited we've already been a part of the community for 12 years now, but I just feel like every single year it gets so much deeper, and it's half of it, almost all of it, is all thanks to the people we have on our team that help us do all this.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to add real quick, it definitely helps that we do things off season, because if we waited until August or even September to do all of the things we do during the off season, we would never open our doors. We do so much in the off season to prepare, to promote, to do everything that we can to make our show the quality that it is, that if we didn't put in all that effort, it wouldn't be the quality that it is.
That's awesome. That's, and that's huge, because having a team like that it makes all the difference. Let me tell you, because with the setup we have out here, it's funny. It seems like we graduate volunteers out. You know what I mean? They graduate and then they're gone. So we're off to the next crop. So there are a few mainstays, but there are just very few, and the cast is pretty much different every year. I mean, somehow we end up with 20 people at some point, and I don't know how. Is this through prayers, basically? But we end up with 20 people, volunteers wise. But it's awesome to have the go-to people to do that. That makes your job so much easier. So that's awesome. Very cool.
One thing, one thing that I find really touching is that families are now getting involved. So, for example, I believe it was 3 years back now, my little cousin came and she acted with me for the first time, and she's been doing it for 3 or 4 years now, and she's actually a manager. And her dad, my uncle, acts with us because he'll get off work and he'll say, okay, I'll come over and I'll act. And so he has a great time doing it. And there's other actors that, like, their siblings are coming in and they're acting with us. So not only are we getting these reoccurring actors, but we're getting the reoccurring actors, and then we're getting their family. And it's just this huge chain, and it builds like family connections. It builds friendships. And it's just such a beautiful thing that we have curated over these years.
That's awesome. So you've got generational talent, basically. That's awesome. That's very cool. Mm-hmm. Very cool. All right, let's see here. So, what are some of the? This is going to be a fun one here, and so I'm gonna have you guys dig deep into some of your trauma there. But what is some of the craziest haunt stories that you have dealing with visitors, actors, situations, you name it? What are some of the craziest situations that you've had to encounter that you can publicly talk about here?
Well, let me think.
Cycling through.
Well, why don't you think of one before I can? Let me know.
I think we have every haunt deals with issues with, unfortunately, people that are intoxicated. It's inevitable. So we have sometimes people coming from football games. We got a lot of stuff around here, and a lot of community stuff. Sometimes it can get a little rowdy, and we sometimes have new actors, and we had a new system where we're switching out queue line, and we've had a few situations where I've had an actor come up to me and kind of let me know, hey, this person's getting a little too close, or they touched my prop, or grabbed it from me, whatever it is. And sometimes the situation is not one warning. I had a lady, unfortunately, who needed a few warnings, so we had to get her out of there, and we almost had to have our art security. We have some dads and some people on our team that kind of help us. They don't like when they have to get removed, because we're fun. We have a good environment, so people don't like when they have to get kicked out.
Yeah, that's a bug kill.
So I wouldn't say this is a specific incident, but it's more of a general thing that I have found so funny over the years. So if you don't know, my character's name is Cheney. I have this cute costume with like red polka dots, and I have my hair in pigtails, and I get these really nasty teenage boys that come through a lot. And this is just general. I get some pretty annoying kids that come through every year. And they're all big and bad until the little girl clown comes behind them. Like, they are saying all this stuff, talking all that whatever, saying they're going to hit the actors. And the second I just appear behind them, they stop. And I tell them, like, you stop or you're out. And they do. Most of the time they listen. And if not, then I actually have to get someone to escort them out, because I'm not going to escort them out in character. But the funniest thing that Michael and Bella have ever witnessed is whenever there's anything happening in house and I'm in the queue line and I hear like them call one of our codes or say like, oh, it's urgent, someone needs help, like something's happening, I will be fully in character and stop everything and full speed bolt to the doors to make sure everyone's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, yeah.
I would say one of, and I'll do a non-customer story just to break it up. One, and if you can hear my dog barking, excuse that. But one of the worst incidences we've ever had opening the haunt was back in 2022. It was opening night, so we've already had family and friends. The haunt was already built. We're ready to go. We had people in line. We go to play the introduction scene, and all the power goes boom. The entire circuit breaker for the garage popped, and we had no power in the garage. And all the actors are in there. We had customers starting to build out. So I'm there, and somebody else is there too. We're trying to figure it out, re-plug in this one thing, and then we end up realizing that it's the giant TV that we were using for our introduction that year, and it was playing these videos, but it was like a 1980s TV. It was old. It was taking a lot of power, and I was panicking because as a haunt owner, you're opening late, nothing's working, none of the power's working, and so we end up having to kind of, I don't remember what exactly we ended up doing, but we got it to work eventually, but tend to say we didn't use the TV anymore after that because popping breakers and having no power when you're trying to open on opening night, that was stressful. So that was pretty much one of the most stressful moments of my haunt owner career so far.
That is hilarious. You know what? I relate to that. I think every home haunter has that story. And it's the most terrifying thing that can happen. Because everything we do is outdoors. We do a trail. So we're, and you realize your garage, your exterior outlets, they're all tied to pretty much one breaker system. So we have everything from lights and foggers. We do use some generators to try to pull some heat off of the grid, but at the same time, a lot of stuff's going through the house because the generators only have so much wattage. We had one year, and mind you, we've got an outdoor corn maze, you know what I mean? So people are going through that. But Jamie, my wife, she's kind of like the haunt mom. She, prepares meals for everybody. And it was cold, and, we try to keep the actors warm, keep them fed. So she decided, hey, I'm going to make everybody some hot chocolate. So I was like, all right, cool. But we're sitting here, we got people going through the maze, going through the trail, the whole 9 yards, everything's going off without a hitch. And all of a sudden, I just saw nothing but black, like the same thing that you described. I mean, there was no lights in the back, there was no lights in the front, all the music stopped, everything was, and I could hear people in the trail going, is this part of the show? Oh. And I'm like, what happened? And what had happened is, Jamie had taken our Instapot out and plugged it into the exterior outlet, and it just blew everything.
Oh no!
So I completely relate to that.
Oh my goodness!
But hey, people got an extra bonus scare. It was like, oh, this is a blackout night.
It's the worst. It's the worst. It's the worst. So I understand.
Awesome. what are some, now I don't know if this is even the case, but I figured after we did our little jaunt out there, which we got to do again, we got to get out to Chicago again and do some home haunting. Are there any other home haunts in your immediate neighborhood or in your general vicinity? And if so, what are some of those that are in your area?
Yeah, so there's no other home haunts in like Manuka Shanahan, which is like our town, but there are a couple in Plainfield, which are Horror Props is over there. I'm sure everybody is familiar with Dave and Aubrey of Horror Props. There's Pumpkin Riot, which is Brian is over there, Pumpkin Riot Productions. And then Delmum Diaboli. I'm sorry, I always pronounce it wrong. Delmum Diaboli is another haunted house that's over in Shorewood. It's a walkthrough haunted house. And then we also have Horror on Highland, which we collaborated with for, we did a Christmas home haunt. And it was called Silent Night. We actually did it over in Lockport. They're over in Lockport. So we have, I think, 2 other walkthroughs, and then there's 2 other yard displays really close by.
That's awesome. I was going to ask you a question about one of those too. So it's kind of, that'll segue us. But it's kind of funny. A reason I asked that is because a lot of times, people, I've had people ask me, hey, is this a competitive thing for you? And I was like, if you're talking about me versus myself, yes. I go, but as far as competitiveness with others, not really. I think, and I was going to ask you if you saw this happen, but I think for me, my hope is that I spread a bug and that more people start putting stuff out and more people I get excited if somebody puts an inflatable out. I get excited if somebody, does a window treatment and, because my goal is to see the whole neighborhood up in orange, that's the goal. So I think I get excited anytime because you feel like the bug is spreading. So do you feel like you guys have had an impact on your community where people are like, I got to step my game up. I got to get something and put something out. Have you started to see that in your area?
I've definitely seen it and heard it, but kind of like what you're saying is, it's not really fair to compare. You can only be in competition with yourself, and I'm at competition with myself every year to outdo whatever we did the previous year or whatnot. But, I would say over the years, there's been more that popped up, especially through the Chicago Haunt Builders. It started out just a couple, people started the Chicago Haunt Builders, and then over the years it grew and grew and grew and grew. And I think with like Home Depot and everything too, that's really accelerated home haunting out here too, is people have more access to those amazing props.
Yeah. Yep. And for affordable. So that makes sense. It's awesome. I've always thought it's something cool about seeing that neighborhood where kids are just, it's just like you're just walking all around and everywhere you turn, there's something going on. Or even if it's something as simple as some parents out in the driveway doing Jello shots for the adults, and candy for the kids, whatever it is, it's just I love that atmosphere. I think that's what makes it magical. And I think somebody's asking me, why do I love home hunt so much? I said, because of the community aspect of it. I think that's the part you miss. Pro hunting is awesome. That's a whole nother faction. But I think the parts you miss is that sense of community. That's what makes it fun. It's almost like going to a rave or something crazy where you just feel that energy just pulsing through the community. It's awesome. So
my cul-de-sac used to be like that. Like everyone was out setting up the white, tables on their driveways, and even the parents sitting at the tables, they got the candy and they're dressed up and they're scaring the kids, Before I did the haunt, I decorated my house. We used to do the whole thing, and I don't anymore because I decorate Michael's house for Halloween. But so I did try to make time for it, But yeah, it's cool to see. I don't really know. We don't really hear like competition. Like haunters don't post, stuff like that. So you don't really hear too much buzz about that kind of stuff in this industry.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. So you touched on something, and I'm going to jump to it. I was going to save that for later, but I feel like cat's kind of out of the bag. You guys are probably one of the few home haunts I've ever seen involved in a actual Christmas haunt. So I want you guys to kind of elaborate on that. First of all, how did it go? And the most important question is, would you repeat?
Yeah, so it was a very we collabed with Adam Brandon Seigan of Horon Highland. And we combined, so it basically was his show. So it was all his props, his maze, everything at his house. He owns his house. But it was all of our costumes and our crew. So we took all of it was a lot of them, actually. A lot of them showed up. I was surprised. And of course, we had our makeup artists there and everything. And but we combined, we basically said, go out, find, Christmas pajamas, whatever you want to distress. We actually had a really fun, we got our whole crew together probably end of November, and we had a distressing costume day. So we made all new costumes, all new characters. So we kind of were all Christmasified, whatever you want to say. And we didn't want to do a theme that has already been done by the Christmas haunts out here. You have Christmas Nightmare, so we couldn't really do that. You have Xmas at Basement of the Dead, so we couldn't really do that. We had a lot of Jack Frost. I know the 13th floor does Krampus. So we're like, what can we do? Well, let's do Silent Night. So we did Silent Night, and it was pretty fun. It was a good collaboration. With pretty much our whole team being there, it ran very smoothly when we're getting our team ready and their team ready. Obviously everybody, we all got along excellent. It was actually a lot of Chicago haunt builders were there. There was a lot of them there. Mike from, I'm blanking on his haunt's name, but it's Voodoo Podcast. He was there, and Matt Thomas from Greenbrier Cemetery was there too. So there was not just me and Adam's team, but as well as a lot of Chicago haunt builders not only came through to walk through, but we all kind of combined together. It was really fun. Do you guys want to add on to that? Or?
Oh yeah, I mean I acted in it as well. You can see all the pictures on our page, and it was a really fun time. In the beginning, it took some adjusting, a few walkthroughs to kind of get our actors to get shaken up a little bit. They're not used to acting the outside like that. They're used to being inside, and the Q line actors are used to being outside. But regardless, they had so much fun creating their characters. Like Michael said, we had the distressing party, and we threw on the TV old night walkthrough videos, and we threw on Christmas music. People were getting so creative. One of our actors that was a ranger that got ran over by like a car, and they had a big tire mark. They actually ran over the costume with their car. Yeah. We had people burning costumes and wrapping Christmas lights around themselves, and I was gluing fake snow and peppermints to my eyebrows, and it was crazy. Everyone went all out, and it was really cool.
What an awesome experience. That sounds like you guys formed a Christmas tradition now.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I saw that. I saw some of the pictures of it, and I thought that was super cool. I don't know if you sent me any of those pictures in the packet, but if not, please send me some, because I want to make sure I pop those up for people to see so they can see some of the costumes were amazing. It looked awesome. I had major FOMO over here in Michigan going, man, I wish I could get over there. So, but very cool. So if you do have pictures of it, send them, and I'll make sure I pop them up in the interview here so folks can see them. So very cool. One of the things I'm going to go ahead and talk about, because I know I have a feeling I'm going to forget. You guys can help me with this, but Moonlight Couture. What is the gentleman's name who put this together? Do you remember?
Israel Perez.
Yeah. I was confused on what you were asking. Sorry. I feel
horrible. I'm going to put it on screen, but anyway, I got a chance to kind of go through that, and I told him we were going to talk about it. I kind of sent him a message to, hey, look, we're going to talk this up. Don't worry. But I thought, what a great resource. And for me, it was really cool to see this because, like I said, I deal with a lot of high school kids. I try to focus on drama, although the drama teachers change. I've lost my connection to the drama at our local high school. But a lot of times kids come in and they're looking for direction. They're excited, but they're like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, man, I really wish I'd have had this resource a lot longer ago. But what are some of your thoughts on, have you guys had a chance to go through the material yet and check it out?
All three of us have.
Yeah, he reached out to me. I'm not sure how long ago now. It had to be a few months, but he reached out to me one night through Facebook Messenger and kind of asked if we could speak on the phone. And we had talked in a while. I've known him pretty much my whole life. You know, we used to through other church, you know, activities like that and stuff. But he told me and let me know about this course to kind of Hunter's Blueprint to kind of help people get started, you know, or people that are already in the industry and just want to expand their knowledge or learn new things. Everyone kind of has their own advice. And I was like, yeah, 100%, I'll do it. I took it and I spread it out over the course of, I think, a few days. It was really, really amazing, honestly. I learned things. I've been doing this for 5 years, and I learned things that I could apply and things that I never even thought of. And I caught myself a lot of times going, oh, okay, you know, it was great. A lot of information in there. There was worksheets. It was hands-on. I'm a hands-on learner. I think a lot of people in the haunt industry are. It was great. Definitely something and a tool that a lot of people could use.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Moonlight Couture, for you guys who are, you know, viewing out on the outside here, they do a course. And I would say you guys can tell me if I'm in the same boat here. It really seems geared for haunt actors. Although there's some good information for other aspects of haunts, but it really works on haunt actor development, which I think is really cool. If you know, and I remember him asking me, do you feel like this is translatable to home hunting? You know, because at first I thought, I don't know if you want me. I'm a home hunter. I don't really have a pro hunt, you know, but after going through that, I'm like, absolutely. Because a lot of times these home hunt actors are the ones that are going to be in your Eloises and your Hell's Gates later on. And it's a great foundation to build on. So I'm going to put some information on screen, where to get more information about these courses through Moonlight Couture. But I highly recommend it. I definitely wanted to get you guys' thought process on it and see what you thought. But I think it's neat to know that this is a useful tool to anybody in the haunt industry. If you're dealing with, you know, whether you got an escape room, whether you got a home haunt, you name it. I think it's definitely great for that and a great tool to help build the confidence, you know, in the actors that you have that are aspiring, so. But very cool. I wanted to make sure I got to that because I was like, I'm going to forget it. so I didn't want to forget, you know, because I thought he was really gracious. And, you know, and I know you guys probably, you know, since you guys are in Chicago, probably have a little more of affinity. But here I am. He didn't know me from a hole in the wall. And I thought that was really awesome of him to reach out to me and allow me to browse through it and to get familiar with it. So, and I definitely will pass it down to some of the folks we're working with. So, but very cool. Very cool. So, fun fact for people who don't know a lot about Nightmare, we're going to get into some bigger things that they do, like Midwest Hunters Convention. You guys, for how many years have been involved with the display for Chicago Hunt Builders at Midwest?
We did the display for 2 years for Midwest Hunters Convention. We did that in 2022 and 2023. In 2024, we decided to take a break and focus more on ourselves internally. But we are back this year for 2025. And while we are not doing the entire booth, we are still doing a portion of it. We found that when we did it in 2022 and 2023, while we did have the help of the other Chicago Hunt Builders, we had a lot of work ourselves to do. And that's because we are the way that we are, and we hold ourselves to a high standard, and we carry our name with us. So we would take all of our panels out of storage and clear coat them and repaint them, and then we'd have a day devoted just to painting the walls, and then we'd have a separate day dedicated to taking all those panels that we just stacked up after painting them, bringing them to the backyard, and fully setting up the entire walkthrough that was going to be on the show floor, and then making sure everything was good in there and all the paint lined up, and then taking it all down and putting it back in the garage, and then putting it all in the U-Haul, and then bringing it to Rosemont, and then putting it all up and putting it all down. And it's just a lot to all do in such a short amount of time, especially that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you feel like, oh my God, I just put that up. I got to take it down now. But I think we all enjoy having such a big part in it. I mean, I just the other day was going back and watching an MHC walkthrough video, and I was like, oh my God, we did that, you know? And it's such like it's just another time where you look at it and say, wow, I am a part of this community, and I do have a voice, and I do make a difference.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Every year I enjoy watching that. And what's it like to be able to do that? What's the experience like? I know, take the stress out, because obviously there's stress because you got timelines, but what's it like experience wise, you know, with the people and the opportunity to you know, put your work on display like that?
It's huge. And I can, you know, obviously, like Alexis said, we took a break from it last year just because it was a lot. And I acknowledged that, you know, maybe it would be good to step back for a little bit. But when we did it, you know, those first 2 years, it led us to some people that we would not be so close with to this day, you know, just Midwest hunters in general, and kind of working alongside them. You know, a lot of the Chicago haunt builders we met through, you know, hey, come help us set up at Rosemont, or hey, come paint the walls for the booth at our house. As much as it was our thing and, you know, our walls, some of our props, it was a huge collaboration of all Chicago Haunt Builders members. You know, they would all, you know, when I can think back to when we, you know, we would host days here. So a lot of networking came out of it. And that to me was worth all the stress and worth all of that. And just being able to also get a head start on our show for October too, because some of the rooms we would kind of double up and say, all right, these are the bases for what we're going to do this year. We'd already have half the hunt already painted and done because we already did it back in May, June. So I would say, to answer the question, would be networking would be the most rewarding thing that came out of doing it. And doing it this year as well.
That's awesome. That is very cool. All right, I'm going to take a real quick break and make sure the Zoom did not stop because it's happening. Okay, here's a fun one. You guys can take turns however you want to break it down. I have to ask this of everybody. Okay. Hawaiian pizza, abomination or stroke of genius?
I'll go first. It is my favorite pizza ever. I love, you know, if it's from Rosa, you know, out in Minooka, we don't have much, but we have lots of pizza places. So from Domino's, it's delicious. From Rosati's, it's delicious. From Giordano's, it's delicious. Doesn't matter what pizza place it's from. Pineapple pizza, it's delicious.
I'm with you, Mike. This is probably going to split the room, but I'm with you.
I guess let's find out, because I don't really know. What would you say?
I'm a little biased, I guess. I mean, I've tried all the weird pizzas. I managed to Domino's for like a year and a half. So I got to try a lot of different things, especially when people canceled their orders. I would say it's good, but like it's not my choice. I'll eat it if someone else orders it or if it's there, but I'm not going out.
You're not going to kick down the door for it.
Just seek it out. Like, I'm not craving it. Yeah, no. But it's not terrible. It's not.
All right.
And here's my thing. I like pineapple. I don't like the ham as much. I'm not like a huge fan of like, I like pepperoni, but besides that, like, I don't like sausage at all. Ham is like okay, but if I'm getting like pineapple on my pizza, it's gonna be like just pineapple, or like maybe pineapple and one other thing. Like my mom, for some reason, when we would get pizzas when we were younger, my dad and brother would get like sausage and pepperoni and whatever else, and my mom would always get me and her green peppers and pepperoni. And it's good because the spice from the peppers, or like the tanginess of the peppers, like pairs well with the acidity of the pineapple.
This is honestly the most forgiving room I've seen. I've like literally been booed out of the studio by other people. Like, I don't even want to talk to you anymore, man. So this is the most forgiving group I've seen so far with Hawaiian pizza.
Yeah.
All right, I got another fun one for you. This is also a good one. I got to ask, every hunter has to answer this one because I think this speaks to who we are, really. If you were a monster, any monster, what monster would you be specifically? Take your time on that. Don't rush through it, but what speaks to you? Who's your inner, most people have spirit animals. Who's your spirit monster?
Are you talking about like Universal classics? So like werewolf, mummy, invisible man.
Yeah, you can reach into anything. You want to go and crypt it, you can do that too. Whatever's your spirit monster, who is it and why?
Ooh, I'm worried if I say it, people are going to be concerned. I'm just going to go with my character because I always say that she's my alter ego. Her name is Teeth. She's a cannibal. She's crazy, she's all over the place. And people, she doesn't like being controlled. She doesn't like rules. And I would be her. I've changed her a bunch. She's feisty. She's got a tiny, tiny bit of kindness in her heart. She wants my way or the highway. And I tried to get myself in her mindset, I talked about it in one of my interviews. If I'm having real life problems, I don't want to do this, or, I'm really nervous about this, I would go, would Teeth be nervous about this? Would Teeth let this get to her? And every time it's no. So I would have to say her.
Nice.
Alexis, you can go. I'm not really sure yet.
Okay. So I'm thinking more of like Universal classics. I am stuck between the werewolf and Dracula because number one, I love the vampire aesthetic. Like that dark romance kind of like Bram Stoker's Dracula. Absolutely love that film. So that's why I would go with Dracula. But I'm like maybe leaning a little bit more towards like werewolf because number one, I love animals. I've always had dogs. I now have a cat, but I've always had dogs. Number two, this is weird to like normal people, but like haunt people, they don't care. I love collecting bones. Like you can't see because my camera's on it, but the shelf underneath where my camera's at, I have a deer skull, 2 raccoon skulls, 2 deer spine bones, 2 deer jaws, a limb bone, something else, a little like rodent vertebrae, deer and raccoon teeth, and I recently bought a cow spine. So I think bones are so cool. So that is why I'm kind of leaning more towards that end.
I can vibe that. That's awesome. I dig it. All right.
I would say my favorite monster would have to be probably the creature from the Black Lagoon, just because
I knew it.
It's different. It's not a zombie. It's not like Dracula. As much as I love vampires and werewolves, sometimes I feel like they're a little cheesy, but I would say creature from the Black Lagoon is my favorite just because of the uniqueness of it.
Very cool. Yeah, I think we got all the classics covered here. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like it. Very cool. Yeah, I always like asking that because I think all of us carry that around with us in the back of our heads. I've told people, and I've said this before on the channel, that like when I was a kid, like I remember the first werewolf movie I saw as a kid, I was like, I want to be a werewolf. Except I was serious. I was like, I wanted to go to career day and be like, I want to be a werewolf when I grow up.
That's funny.
I just thought they were super cool. It probably has something to do with Teen Wolf. I grew up with Teen Wolf. You guys, that's probably I'm dating myself on that. But
yeah, that's a good one.
Sometimes I wish I was the Invisible Man so I could just walk right on out of situations.
That too.
Very cool. All right, let's see here. What are your plans for halfway to Halloween? Since we are right on the precipice here, I know there's got to be a ton of stuff happening in the Chicagoland area with this now. It's amazing. Halfway to Halloween, if we rewind probably 10 years ago, we're not having this conversation. But now it's like everything, So what are some things that are going on that you guys are either getting into or want to check out?
I know in the haunts this area, not many of them are doing any halfway to Halloween. I think Joliet Prison is opening for the Friday the 13th in June. So I think a lot of them have held off this time around because that Friday the 13th is coming up in June. But personally for us right now, it's just getting ready for MHC and we definitely have the show planned out for October, but just getting what we're doing with the Chicago Haunt Builders ready. And we do have another secret, which we may or may not unveil on this call, in regards to MHC and just some big stuff. I might as well just go ahead and say it, but
that didn't take long.
No, not at all. But for those that have been to the Midwest Haunters Convention, there is a section where all the pro haunts are. It's called Haunted House Chicago Row. Hell's Gates there, 13th floor, the Joliet Prison, Disturbia, Basement of the Dead. I believe Realm of Terror is even there too, and Massacre. All the pro haunts in the area, right? Well, the Nightmare Haunted House is going to have its very own booth on Haunted House Chicago Row, and we are very excited about this opportunity. And it's not a walkthrough, of course. We're gonna have our booth all done up. We're gonna have a nice little booth for it, and we're gonna have our props there, and it's just gonna be a really great photo op. And I'm just really excited for it. I'm like overjoyed right now. So I just thought I would share that as well. So that's kind of what we're up to right now.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Very, very, very cool. So, I know we talked about the length of time you've been doing Nightmare. You said 12 years, right? So we're over a decade at this point, right? So, yeah. And I think I don't want to let a cat out of the bag. So if you're not ready to talk about this, that's okay. But am I correct in hearing that there's some aspirations to go to the next level here, from the home to actual pro?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we don't know when, we know where, obviously local, because we don't want to do it anywhere else. We've built such a strong community base here that if we were to, go 40 minutes, north towards Chicago, we would lose, our people. And we know that right now our people are, they're willing to buy some stuff and they're willing to give us, money for our show now. So we know that when we make that change, that we already have a client base here, customer base rather. So hopefully within the next couple of years, very much so sooner rather than later, it's our goal, whether that's an outdoor haunted trail or a giant warehouse or a small warehouse. Hopefully within the next couple of years, we're saying 2026, 2027, 2028, hopefully within those next couple of years, finally being a pro haunt.
Yeah,
that's awesome. You guys are. It's going to be a pretty smooth transition because you guys are already there. As far as I'm concerned, you're already there. You have all the bones and you understand, what it takes because you're doing it. You're doing it already. Which is pretty cool. I love seeing that. From just the way you guys attacked your process. It'll be a very the biggest difference is the headache of all the red tape and bureaucracy. That part sucks. But as far as knowing what to do and how to attack it, I think you guys are already there. So, but that's exciting. That's very exciting. So, and I definitely understand the tear between there. You got your community, but hey, you never know. You guys can spend the next couple of years preparing them for the next level. Hey, this is where we're headed. You go, we want you there with us, so you never know, you got time to build that up, so that's awesome.
Yeah. We know whenever we do it, the community has our back wherever we decide to go. It all will happen for the greater good. We never stop planning. We're gonna, do what's best for us. We're on the right track. We've got a lot of things going for us, and we've got our sights on going pro just ASAP. We don't really have a timeline, but yeah, like hopefully within the next few years, we know our community is going to be there for us no matter what.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's super phenomenal. So, with that being said, what is your schedule for people who, first of all, if you are in the Chicago area, and you've got access to either the Chicago Haunt Builder or Chicago Haunt Builders group, or even Fright Maps. You guys on Fright Maps, right? Am I correct on that? Yep. If you got access to either one of those, you've got to make sure you get there. So what I'd like to do for everybody, as they get prepared for spooky season, because we got time to ramp up here, what are going to be your dates of operation? Are you just basically Halloween weekend? Are you doing most of October? How's that going to work?
Yeah.
We do every Friday. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
Okay. We do every Friday and Saturday in October, including Halloween, whatever day that falls on. So that can always be expected, whether it's either the first weekend or the second weekend, depending on just how the month falls in the calendar. This year, we don't have any dates completely set in stone. I know for sure we are doing that last weekend, final weekend that we have. We're doing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We are still in debate on whether or not we want to add more Sundays. Based off last year's attendance, we had a whole lot of people. And so, getting them through and getting everyone to be able to see it is becoming more difficult, and being able to get everyone in the doors before we have to close them. So we might add a few more this year just to make sure everyone can experience it. As far as, kind of the behind the scenes of it, we have actor trainings and rehearsals really starting in June, actually. As far as the makeup team goes, we're expanding that this year. So makeup rehearsals will begin in June, and we will have actor training days and like monster camp, boot camp, for that, starting in the end of July, beginning of August. So we are constantly working behind the scenes. We'll have a family and friends night probably looking towards the end of September. And then, those doors will open the first weekend of October.
Very cool. Very cool. So where can people go to get information on everything here? I know you guys have socials. So if you want to plug those, I'll go ahead. Also, make sure I pop them on screen for you guys. Also, we'll have some details in the links below. But if you guys want to just let people know where they can go and get more information as we go.
Yeah, of course. So the Nightmare Haunt on Instagram, and that also links to all of our other socials. If you want to keep up with us with behind the scenes, what's going on, or watch some funny videos, we have the Nightmare Haunted House YouTube channel, where that's mainly me and a lot of the stuff that I'm doing with that. The Instagram page will always have our calendar for the season pinned at the top. And then we also have a TikTok account where you can see content with us as well there.
Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. And guys, one of the cool things here, you guys have been kind of almost like, I don't know if I want to call it video journaling along the way, but I've been kind of keeping up with all the stories. I think that's really neat to kind of keep up with what's going on. You guys are you guys only doing that on Facebook? Is it Facebook and YouTube? How's that working out?
So,
you're referring to the YouTube videos and then the interviews?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have we got them on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Like we're really trying to like do them all. Really, like Alexis mentioned, the YouTube videos. Obviously, she's mainly doing those. We've trickled into some interviews on TikTok, but if you go on the Nightmare page and also my personal account, it's just Isabella M and then Mayoli, my last name. And we're doing all that. I really wanted to showcase our cast, really. And kind of like I said earlier, we're starting to rely on ourselves. And we've had, just like right now, we've had amazing opportunities to be interviewed by people outside of our haunt. And our cast doesn't really get that opportunity. Our managers don't really get that opportunity. So I want to get them out there and show a side that really people don't see. We've been really scary, all on the page, you'll see all the pictures we have. And then if you start to scroll this year in the last few months, even really since January, it's completely different, all new, and it's exploded with amazing feedback, and it seriously couldn't have gone better. It's going amazing, and there's no end in sight for now.
Very cool. Very, very cool. All right, guys, there you have it. Do you guys have anything you want to plug that I haven't covered so far? Any events or anything you guys will be doing or involved in that we haven't talked about so far?
Just keep up with us about posts for MHC. Any additional information or behind the scenes, like I said, is going to be on our YouTube, and Instagram and Facebook are the big three we've been focusing on recently. And then also, a lot of our cast, especially our managers, are trying to reach their audiences on their own accounts. So if you ever want to take a browse on the Nightmare Instagram page, and whatever posts they're in, they are tagged. So give them, a look and follow, and yeah.
Yeah, we have
awesome. Very cool. Very cool, guys.
Highlights.
Did I stop you? I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying that on our Instagram page, we've got all the highlights of all our icon characters with all of the times they've been on our stories. I'm pretty sure they're all tagged in there, and our content's weekly pretty much. So yeah.
And I swear, you guys' Instagram page is like a graphic novel. So it's awesome. It's awesome. You can just flip through, and I've gotten lost scrolling, and I've been like, how long have I been sitting here scrolling? I've done that a few times. So very awesome work you guys do. Guys, if you have not been, like I'm going to say it again, make sure you make time to get over and check out the Nightmare Haunt. Phenomenal. That's all I can tell you. It's an experience unlike any home haunt you've been to. I promise you that. But definitely make it a point to get on over there. And while you're there, check out all the other little mainstays out there in Chicago Haunt Builders. There's it's amazing how much it takes to kind of crack the almond there. I realized we could have probably spent an entire weekend running around checking different haunts out. But definitely put this on the top of your roster here. So you guys are close to. Are you guys close to Hell's Gate?
Yes.
Yeah, we're about a half an hour.
That's what I thought. So there you go. There you go. Hell's Gate and Nightmare Haunt. There's your perfect weekend right there.
Yep.
Guys, thanks for taking time to come and rap with us here. We're looking forward. I'm going to try to get up to MHC. You know what? I'm embarrassed I haven't been yet. And it's crazy because I've gone to other events that are further, which is insane. It makes no sense. So I definitely want to try to get down there this year, not just to network with you guys, but just to see MHC. I haven't had a chance to do it, and I feel like we're virtual neighbors. 4 hours separates us. You know what I mean? Yeah. If I can make an 8-hour drive, I can make a 4-hour drive. So hopefully we can get down that way and get a chance to say hi to everybody.
If it makes you feel better, I haven't been either, so I'm gonna experience it for the first time too. I'm excited. Oh yeah, so don't feel too bad.
June 7th and 8th.